welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shibani Gharat. Procter Gamble, makers of brands like Vicks, Ariel, Gillette, Pampers, last week announced new commitments aimed towards advancing equality and inclusion across the country at their 4th annual We See Equal Summit. If you recall, a couple of years back at the summit, P&G had set out a goal to achieve 50% representation of female directors behind camera for the company's brand ads by 2024. And the company claims this has already been achieved 1 year ahead of the target. Over the past few years, P&G's brands Ariel, Whisper and Vicks have tried to keep cause advertising at its center. While Ariel shares the message of gender equality in the division of household through its Share the Load campaign, Vicks talks about touch of care, taking up topics such as transgender rights, adoption and children with disabilities. Whisper has attempted to raise awareness around period taboos and drive menstrual education with initiatives such as Touch the Pickle, Keep Girls in School and more. We are catching up with Sharat Verma, Chief Marketing Officer P&G India and Vice President Fabricare P&G India, and speaking to him about cause marketing. And with inflationary pressures, has it become increasingly difficult as a marketer to manage triple bottom line of people, planet and profits? Let's find out. Sharat, welcome to CNBC-TV18 and welcome to Storyboard again.
Thank you for having me.
Sharat, at your recently held We See Equal Summit, you announced fresh commitments towards equality and inclusion. Tell us, how do these commitments shape your marketing and advertising plans and strategies?
So equality and inclusion is core to how we work at P&G, right? We want to use our voice in advertising to be a force for good and a force for growth, right? We want to have meaningful conversations and put out positive imagery, right? So these are really our two focus areas, right? If you look at, some of the conversations we've been having across brands in P&G, Ariel, Share the Load, Whisper, Keep Girls in School, Vicks, Touch of Care, Gillette, Shaving Stereotypes, Pampers, It Takes Two. They're all aimed at having conversations which can help drive change the consumer wants to see, right? We want to join, curate, amplify, direct conversations to bring about change the consumer wants to see. The other focus area for us is really positive imagery, right? We want to put out progressive imagery that can help drive change, right? And that's been a big focus for us. And some of the commitments we made at We See Equal are, in light of that change that we want to see.
And also, one of the things that was announced at We See Equal a couple of years ago was 50% women behind the camera when it comes to your advertising. And you have, in fact, at the We See Equal Summit this year, you already have reached that target of having 50% representation of women directors behind the camera. So if you can share with us, over the past couple of years, in terms of your advertising, what has this 50% representation of women directors behind the camera helped you gain in terms of perspective, probably? Like, how has it shaped and changed your TVCs and campaigns?
When we started off 2 years back, only 20% of our films were directed by women. We said that we want to achieve a 50-50 ratio in 3 years. And you're right, we've achieved that 1 year ahead of time, right? So we've already achieved a 50-50. We want to be responsible in the images that we put out. We are the world's largest advertiser. The results have been great, right? Copy cut-through rates are up 20%, which is a massive number. I think the advertising we're putting out is more authentic, more relatable, more progressive. I think we've had very rich conversations during the process, which has helped us unpeel some of the bias that we are all carrying, right? Which is conscious, or sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious bias, right? If you look at, a recent hair care ad that we were making where they wanted to show a progressive woman, they showed the woman in a suit, right? And then the director came up and said that, listen, why is that necessary? Can't she be dressed in, a traditional attire? Why does she have to man up for the world to believe that she is progressive, right?
Now, Sharat, moving on to Share the Load Season 6, which was recently launched. Why is it important for P&G to run this campaign for such a long time?
When we started off, 79% of men believe that laundry is only a women's job. The number is down to 26, but 26 is not zero, so the conversation needs to continue. And that's really the reason why we're having, the season of Share the Load, where we're talking about the long-term consequences of
silent
inequality.
separation.
Absolutely.
And why did you think it was important to talk about silent separation? Why was this topic, breached?
Over 80% of women said that this is impacting their relationship. 65% of women said that this has created an emotional distance between them and their partner, right? And they termed it as, really, it's kind of they're living their own separate lives, right? When we spoke with men, they said there's now, they were basically realized that they missed out on their relationship. There was a bit of silence in their life. They thought they could one day come back, pick it all up and, make it all good, but they felt that, too much water's flown under the bridge, and they were essentially feeling regret that they should have paid more attention earlier, right? So this is what this really silent separation is, the creative articulation of what the consumers told us, right? It's, separation, they're living separate lives and there's silence. So that's what silent separation is, right? It's about talking to men and telling them about the long-term impact that inequality in the division of household chores can have on them and their lives and their relationships.
Yeah, Sharad, since P&G has done so much work with Ariel, with brand like Whisper, speaking about social causes, including social causes in the campaign, and consumers today, as we are well aware, especially the Gen Zs, are very, very careful of, when it comes to choosing their brands, because they want their brand or whatever they purchase to stand for something.
Absolutely.
To own a cause. But what are the challenges in doing that? What are the challenges, for you to have a brand speak about or stand by a cause?
So it's a good question, right? It starts with the consumer, right? First you need to understand what the consumer really wants, right? Now we're very good at understanding what the consumer wants from the category. This is the performance they need from their shampoo. This is what they need from their laundry detergent. But what's also important is what do they really want in life, and that's where the cause comes in. And can your brand become a conduit to the consumer getting what they want in their life, right? And that's how we choose. What is a cause where we can truly add value and truly take the conversation forward. So that's really the first challenge. The second one is it's a long-term commitment, right? It's not something that
you do and then move
get
on.
and get results.
Yeah.
It's not something that you change every season, right? You need to stay with it for the long term. It's something that the brand team has to imbibe and take on as a goal, like they take on the top line numbers or the profit numbers. This is really, for example, the Ariel team has a goal on gender equality, right? Where that 26 is going to come down to 15 or 14 next year. What is that number? How do we get that to zero? When can we get that to zero? And that's when really it becomes more authentic, because you're right, consumers can see through stuff which is lip service, right? When you see a brand moving from one cause to the other, consumers can see through that, right?
And you mentioned two of the challenges, but another layer to that challenge right now for an FMCG company such as yours is, of course, inflationary pressures that most of, everyone is battling. Having said that, we are also speaking about this triple bottom line we just spoke about: profit, planet and people.
Yes.
How do you manage that as a marketer? How do you manage that triple bottom line? What are the challenges in doing it?
I think, firstly, it's not a choice. Lending your voice to a social cause that consumers care about is not a choice. It's not a choice any longer. It's not different from whatever you do to drive profit or your bottom line or your top line, because consumers are telling you today, and you just shared a bit back, that consumers want their brand to stand for a social or cultural issue that they care about. They want to connect. They want to know what their brand stands for, the values that the brand stands for, right? Of 9 out of 10 consumers feel better about a brand with which they share common values and beliefs, right? 6 out of 10, more than 6, actually 65% of consumers said they'd switch a brand if they don't agree with what the brand stands for, right? So that's not really a choice. There's so much clutter out there. Consumers are exposed to over 5,000 brand advertising messages a day, right? And there's so much clutter. And to be able to break through that clutter, to be able to live up to what the consumer wants, you need to make sure that your brand, while it does give the best performance and the best products that the consumer wants in the category and etc., they do need to lend the voice to causes that the consumer cares, and that is what differentiates the good brands from the others, right? And therefore, really for us, it's not really a choice. Being a force for good is really for us also being a force for growth.
Force for good to force for growth. But profit is very easy to measure. How do you measure the other two bottom lines?
It doesn't happen in a year. It takes some time. But you'll see it very clearly in your brand metrics. So for us, we do have in-process measures, for example. In-process measures helped us, understand whether we've been able to amplify the conversation enough. What's the reach? What are the, what kind of engagement did we get? What kind of media did we put behind it? All of that these are in-process measures. But what that should translate to is consumers connecting with the brand on values and beliefs, consumers looking at your brand more favorably, and that translating to, stronger business results, irrespective of the external environment, right?
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we are catching up with Manushi Chhillar, who's the newest global brand ambassador for Estée Lauder, along with Dikshita Shukla, India brand head Estée Lauder. Welcome back. We now have an exclusive conversation with Miss World 2017 Manushi Chillar, who's the newest global brand ambassador for Estée Lauder, along with Dikshita Shukla, India brand head Estée Lauder. Manushi and Dikshita, welcome to CNBC TV18.
Hi, thank you.
Manushi, let's begin this conversation with you. Last year, you came on board as the face of this beauty brand's Advanced Night Repair Serum. What has been the association been like so far over the past 1 year?
I think, of course, it was very exciting to be the face of the Advanced Night Repair Serum because I always say this, that's been my holy grail of skincare for a very long time. That's a product that I swear by. And being associated with a brand that you truly believe in is wonderful as someone who's always watched and as someone who's always expected to do the right thing. I think for me, the right thing happened. And today, being announced as the global brand ambassador for Estée Lauder again is an exciting and a really wonderful opportunity for me because I feel that somewhere I've had a journey with the brand. It's a brand that I've always believed in much before I became the face of the brand. These were products that I was using. So for me, that's been a long journey and hopefully it will be a really long one. Ahead as well.
Dikshita, over to you. Manushi, as your global brand ambassador, what does she bring to the table first? And how has the brand Estée Lauder performed in India market over the past couple of years?
We want someone to represent the brand who represents beauty with a purpose. And that's exactly what Manushi represents. And that's what she brings to the table. She's someone who is extremely inspirational to women. In India and even globally. She's self-made, she's warm, she's talented, and she's very, very lovely. So these are all very much ethos that Estée Lauder believes in and Manushi absolutely represents. And that's why we're so proud to have announced her as the face of the brand. And she joins a range of beautiful global brand ambassadors. And it's really proud for us from India to have that representation. The brand has been in India for more than 10 years. We opened our first store in 2008 in India. And since then, we've only grown from strength to strength. As a matter of fact, in the last 2.5, 3 years, we've actually doubled this brand in India. And we've really done that through having an amazing global powerhouse heritage brand and having this fantastic global strategy that we've really adapted to the India market. Whether it's localization, bringing on faces like Manushi to make sure that there is representation from the country, or making sure that we've got the right products with the right claims, the right ingredients, the right benefits to serve the Indian consumers with exactly what they need, or whether it's making sure that we're really expanding with respect to distribution, whether it's our offline stores or our online presence.
Back to you, Manushi. What has having such a close relationship with the beauty industry, being a beauty queen, what has it taught you about this industry and how has it evolved according to you over the past many years?
See, today everyone is very vocal about the fact that the standards of beauty are changing, and it would even be wrong for you to use the term standards of beauty because today people are talking about you can't define beauty, you can't fit things into a box or have certain boundaries. So there are no standards here. And I think it's great that there is an ongoing debate, and I think the newer generations are more open to the idea of beauty being more about self-confidence, more about self-love, self-worth, and less about what's on the outside. And I think even when I look at beauty pageants, I still remember my days at Miss World, where this was a constant discussion where they would always tell us that, like everything else in the world, your standard of beauty, everything has to evolve. It has to change with time, and that's great. And I remember when I was younger and I used to watch these ads. I think the way beauty is so personal to someone, and it has so much to do with how you feel about yourself. And everyone wants to feel good about themselves. Everyone wants to be socially included, socially appreciated. And I still remember there was this one habit of my mother, because she was a working woman. She would always get my hair cut short. And I would see these really beautiful women on TV with long, thick hair. And
Same here.
always get my hair cut short.
Same here. I've lived that life.
Easy for me to manage. But I never deeply thought about it. I used to think about it when I grew up, I'm going to grow my hair long. And she'd always tell me, the more you cut it, the longer it will grow. So that's something, I was innocent and I believed her. These, what you see, which is portrayed in the media industry as beautiful, as desirable, has an impact on every child that's growing up. And, everyone, like, maybe it was harmless for me because I thought when I grow up, I'll have the freedom to cut my hair the way I want to when I can grow it longer. But at the same time, what standards, we as influencers or brands such as Estée Lauder, what standards they set is also important. It's also important for competitions such as beauty pageants, because I come from the world of pageantry, to redefine these standards. And and I'm using the word standards for the lack of a better term over here, because I don't think beauty has standards. I don't think there are any boundaries that you can, or any rules that you can put to beauty. For me, I always find myself to be the most beautiful when I'm feeling confident, when I'm feeling like I love myself, and when I'm feeling that I deserve it. And I think that's what beauty is about.
So more representation and redefining beauty standards is what you're saying. Dikshita, over to you. How is the brand doing this in the country in different ways, and what are you guys doing differently as compared to the well-entrenched players already present in the India market and this gamut of new D2C companies in the beauty space, considering your play is in the premium category?
We were one of the first prestige beauty brands to introduce a global face 5-6 years, to introduce an Indian face within global brand ambassadors 5-6 years ago. And with Manushi, we continue to do that. We were one of the first beauty brands to introduce minis and smaller sizes to make sure that it's accessible to every kind of consumer. Again, a testament to our inclusivity, and making sure that every consumer can get a piece of Estée Lauder. So I think what we've been doing really well for the last 10 years, 10-12 years since we've been in India, is really taking these amazing global strategies that we have and really adapting them to the Indian market.
Finally, Manushi, what else needs to be done, and what else should beauty brands be cognizant of?
I think Indians have a very different skin tone, and I used to always find it so challenging to find a foundation that completely matched my skin. Of course, there's a certain complexion that you have, and there are certain undertones that you have. And, everyone used to say you'll never find a foundation. You always have to mix and kind of match and make your own thing, but you'll never find a foundation that completely matches your skin tone, as if you have Indian skin, which is different now. I think now you have brands that are, there are so many beauty brands, including if you look at Estée Lauder's Double Wear Foundation, there are so many shades. I think, and not just different shades, but shades which are suitable for different undertones as well. I think that understanding, there are two things that are happening. I think people are becoming more aware. People are becoming more aware of what makeup they're putting on themselves. And it's becoming more, it's more like, it's becoming a part of your life today. So hence the consumerism has gone up when it comes to makeup. And at the same time, brands are catering and understanding the needs of people, and they're understanding that there has to be a cafeteria of products that need to be available, and everyone should be able to pick and choose.
Thank you so much, Manushi and Dikshita. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, likewise.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we have the exclusive preview of the new Nihar Naturals campaign with Alia Bhatt launching next week, and a conversation with Somashri Bose Avasti, CMO Marico. Welcome back, and now it's time for this week's notice board. Marico has announced Alia Bhatt as the new face of Nihar Naturals and Nihar Shanti Amla. This is after the brand's long-standing association with actor Vidya Balan. The brand has also launched 2 TVCs for Nihar Shanti Amla and Nihar Naturals coconut hair oil, which are conceptualized by Ogilvy India. We have the exclusive preview of the first film with Alia Bhatt. We are also catching up with Somashri Bose Avasti, CMO Marico, on this new film and much more. Somashri, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much.
Tell us first about the genesis of the new film with Alia Bhatt. What was the thought behind it and what was your brief to the agency?
First of all, I would love to share that Nihar, which is the market leader in the value-added hair oil segment, it has been reaching the heights that it has reached today. Being the market leader is actually where Vidya Balan has taken it. I mean, it has been on her strong shoulders that for the last 13 years, brand has reached the kind of heights it has. And also the reason for such kind of height has been the education progress that, you know, the brand has been really supporting. It has stood for the purpose of driving education among children. And of course, the teachers who are teaching them, right? From there, now to take the next leap, we actually reached out to the consumers. And that's where we realized that the purpose of education is really driving the want of the brand. And also the youth icon today will actually take it to the next level, because she's the one who is really, the one that is influencing the generation. And that's where the whole thought came, that to fit into Vidya Balan's shoes and take it to the next level, who better than the youth icon today, which is Alia Bhatt.
And there is a cause, of education associated with a brand. If I may ask you, as a marketer, what does it take to weave this particular cause?
The Gen Zs today actually look for, brands which are with a purpose. The best part is that, after we acquired the brand in 2005, and, till then we have been doing well, but then just a pricing strategy will not help us get the brand there. And that's when in 2012, way back in 2012, we realized that there has to be a purpose. Now, our TG was females, and females, I mean, they are also young ones and also mothers over there who we realized that one of the things they worry about is their education of themselves and their children, which were, some of the things that really mean to them. And that's where the whole genesis of, the whole thing that, can the brand participate in this whole purpose of, while giving beautiful hair to the consumer, can it also enable her to go for a purpose that also means a lot to her? And that's where the whole thing came up with the ingredients like amla and, almond, where Nihar really stands out in terms of promising that it'll give you long, thick black hair. By buying this product, we are actually enabling the women also to participate in this whole movement of driving education among children. And that's where the whole genesis started. And that 2012 actually became like a real, sort of inflection point for the brand. And that's where we kept consistently at it. And we have been aided by, first we had a tie-up with Cry, and then back in 2019-20, we actually tied up with an NGO, which is Leap for Words. And what we did was we completely used digital technology to drive this awareness. And let me tell you how it helped during COVID times. It was just before COVID that we had this tie-up. And the entire module is actually the whole education module, which is targeted towards teaching the teacher and teaching the students. There are 2 separate modules. Correct. And these modules are actually on WhatsApp. Oh, so wow. The whole education happens through these modules. There are 4 big modules which can take as much as 4 years. These 4 modules are on WhatsApp. And the moment COVID struck, if anything else has failed, this is something that was there to continue, right? With all education happening online, Nihar, with this CSR objective, actually drove the whole education online through WhatsApp. Just to give you some numbers, in 2023, which is the last year, which has just ended, we actually landed teaching about 2 lakh teachers, more than 2 lakh teachers, and more than 10 lakh students. And we also, along with the help of this Leap Forward NGO that we are working with, maintain dashboard for the performance and progress of each of these teachers and students. Yeah. So it's not like it's just a module which is up there. We as Marico, we as brand Nihar, really support this cause as part of our CSR.
Yeah, and moving on now from Nihar to the other brands under your portfolio as a marketer, if you can share with us what are the consumption patterns, especially in the urban markets, also in the semi-urban and rural markets, and what are the key trends that you are seeing?
So currently we believe that the worst of the inflation is really over. We are seeing trends improving, particularly, I mean, in urban also we believe that the worst of the inflation is really, really over, and looking forward to a better consumption rate going forward.
Okay, and how are food and digital first products performing under your portfolio?
So actually they are the strong pillars of our growth, and our target now would be to aggressively sort of control the costs and ensure good amount of gross margin so that we are able to invest back on that and grow these really well. They are doing well for us, and we want them to continue doing well while ensuring profit.
And how about your media investment strategy? How has that changed, and in the face of inflation? Are you making any staggering changes in the way in which you look at different mediums and invest in different mediums right now?
So when we look at media, it is more to say that you are spending not for here and now. You're actually building, putting in media, investing behind a long-term brand equity building. So what we have been doing in the current last few quarters and going forward also, very clearly we are planning for increase in our advertisement to sales ratio, and that's what we are focusing on. We are clearly focusing on driving the long-term brand equity.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.